Jonathan, take it away.
Thank you, so I started the machine learning lab in 2019 and with 3 undergraduate students who I borrowed from the computer science department through the URL program. And we started with computer vision, and since then we've branched out. We've done a whole bunch of work, grants. I'm about to commercialize a pipeline that I built to take 3D models and turn into synthetic media data sets for artificial intelligence training. And so, but today I just want to talk about 3 major points. Where are we now? What does employment look like 2025, 2030? And what's that going to do to our curriculum? I don't have all the answers. I'm probably just going to sound like I'm rambling through this because I count myself among those people who really have no idea. So there have been a lot of surveys lately. UNESCO has been done in the EU, different educational agencies or conferences that on surveys. And it just turns out that speaking freely, we're just not ready for this. Many institutions don't have policies to guide AI use. Many people really haven't started to try in this. But at the same time, a lot of students, this says 82% of college students say they've tried it, right? So when you do that graphically, it seems like from what I've read, professors and teachers are further behind student use, which isn't completely unexpected. This is the way it was in the 1980s and 1990s when computer technology was starting to infiltrate our school systems. It was much the same. So no surprises there quite yet. I mentioned I just finished a national survey and I'm in the process of writing that up. Prior to this, I've done a couple of literature reviews about how artificial intelligence is being used in education. We did a usability study with students, a dozen students helped me come into the lab and do some exercises that we designed for them using artificial intelligence. And that was all about trying to understand how are people using this and what do people know. And so I developed this questionnaire and sent it out to 5,000 faculty members, and we got about 271 people to respond. First question I asked is, hey, do you think AI is okay or not? And this is the way it came out. About a 60-40 split. Professors are saying, yeah, this is great stuff. And we're really into it. We wanted to really make a big impact. 40% are less convinced. So then what I did is I took this paired comparison data and I ran it through SPSS, put it through SPSS and turned into z-scores. And by doing this, you can translate the paired comparison to a 100-point scale. So what this does is it basically, by doing literature reviews, I came up with these 5 statements, which are statements that people typically voice when they're not in favor of using AI in higher education. But I wanted to know, well, which one of these statements is important? Which one matters the most? And what do people say about it? So a paired comparison takes each one of these statements and compares it to the other. Right? And so you have a method of determining which is most important in a group of statements. And this is how they came out. Proponents of artificial intelligence higher ed are really excited about personalized learning and also facilitating and activating research. And then, of course, I asked the qualitative statements because I wanted to try to understand more about why people say these things. And proponents are saying things like, this is crazy. We're running away from this thing, but it's going to be really important. We really need to pay attention to it. In fact, we need to be more engaged. We need to really get into this. So there's a lot of that kind of anticipation about what's next. In fact, at least that's what I was reading in the data. And then the skeptics of artificial intelligence in higher education are more worried about, well, we talked about before, impact on critical thinking and on academic, well, what we call academic integrity now might not be academic integrity 5 years from now, because we might have a completely different way of doing things. But this is what people are worried about, how the students are using it, and how that might affect the integrity of their education, and also in the misuse or improper use of it. So there's a lot of concern along those lines. And these statements would absolutely kill us. I mean, when people are against AI, they really voice their concerns, okay? So it has become a joke that we have OpenAI making lectures and tests for students using OpenAI in the homework and exams, which are graded by OpenAI. So, I mean, that's kind of a point I raised before, and I got that feeling as well, so I thought I'd include it on. There are people saying it can't be trusted at all, and it's not safe in anybody's hands. And then there was this comment. I mean, one person actually say, actually was the very first statement in one of the questions, one of the open-end questions. I've seen Terminator and it frightens me. And this is my whole concept with people who have the wrong idea about AI. And some people actually believe this stuff. It's okay. That's what we learned from Hollywood, all these exciting artificial intelligence movies. And it's always a case where, the AI is taking over and people are powerless. No movie in here I really like was Colossus, the Floating Project. And the reason is because it's a really honest movie. They make a computer system and they tell it, stop man from making war. But they don't tell it how. So it comes up with its own methods, which includes lighting up a few nuclear weapons and telling humanity, don't do that or I'm going to destroy everything. And this goes back to the old programmer joke. This is a little bit off topic, but you know the old programmer joke. The wife tells a husband, buy 2 quarts of milk. If they have eggs, buy 6. And when the husband comes home with 6 quarts of milk with no eggs, she says, what the heck are you doing? And this is the whole thesis of the Colossus of Order, where I go, stop men from making war. And you find this a lot in deep learning as well, when you train computers to play games, you let the computer play the game endlessly, you will find flaws in the game. So that you can see on level 1 and do something very specific with only game pieces and break them, and learn all the points. Right? So these are things that just come up. So where are we going with curriculum? Well, I mean, with work. The knowledge economy, a lot of people are saying, is headed to the exits. Right? We have a way to generate knowledge, and it's overwhelming at a certain moment. But they say this year is a year of business automation, and they're saying agentic AI. That's what they're saying. But it is true. There are a lot of videos on YouTube about how to make agents, and there are some tools that you have to pay for, and other tools that are free. So what it comes down to here is who's using AI, and you can find this kind of information all over the place. There are a lot of different estimates, but generally speaking, it seems like high school boys are using, and college boys, young men are using AI more than high school girls and college young women. And younger people are using it more than older people. So these patterns seem to be very familiar to me from when computers started to emerge in the 90s. Employment is going to change. We know some of these things from, everybody, the population right now, there's a majority of the population is getting ready to retire. So we know there'll be a lot of work in that area of healthcare support. Computer and mathematical, that makes sense. But generally speaking, what I've read is that positions that require either manual skill or highly interactive environments, those jobs are pretty much not going to be affected dramatically, but jobs that involve highly repetitive work, rule-based tasks like accounting or bookkeeping would certainly be high on the list of job functions that could be automated. All right, so this is the hard part because there's so much uncertainty about what is it going to look like when we stop and take a breath. We don't know yet. So determining what we're supposed to do is pretty difficult. So my whole philosophy on this then is you should know something about how the models work. Right? There's different types of models. And you should have some idea about the general terms. You should know a large language model, prompt engineering, fine-tuning, RAG. There are just terms floating around that we should all know, right? It used to be Bloom's taxonomy or Moore's law. Now we have Moravec's paradox, which says that if it's easy for humans, it's really hard for computers. But if it's hard for computers, it's really easy for humans. Like walking, or jogging, or jumping up a set of stairs. That's really hard for a computer to do that bad, right? Some people have said that it's, if you think about humans on an evolutionary scale, the things that we learned 40 million years ago are really hard for a computer, but the things that we have recently associated with the knowledge economy, really easy for a computer. This is the classic difficult problem for a computer. Puppies and muffins. And it's really hard for a computer to do this. I did happen to read one article by a computer scientist who was a computer vision expert who did train a model to recognize all of the puppies in these diagrams and all of the species of chihuahuas. All right, so it is doable. All these things that are hard for a computer can be done, but it comes down to this effort on mind. This is hard. However, let's get one for the humans. Which is the right die? Good luck with that. The computer can do this and it's the same thing with logic problems on the IQ test patterns. Computers going through that like this, right? No problem. Anybody have a guess?
Top right.
I mean, just a fact of that. Everybody should know that it's hard for a computer to do something. And that begins to separate out the world. Like, what kind of assignments could I give a computer? When you think about it, what's reasonable? What would be reasonable? Now, the other thing I'm doing for myself is I subscribe to Monica. And this is not how it looks. I tried to give you an idea of the different capabilities that are available in this tool. But yes, all of these models on the right, I have access to every single one of these. And Grok makes an appearance in here every now and again, which is kind of fun. In addition to this, Monica has this UI, which is on the left. And you have all kinds of bots and agents that are available to you here. I do have some caves. I tend to like Scholar GPT because it can really useful. I can do searches, and I do like Claude. So the point is that I invested in this after looking at a few tools that have assembled all of the models into one package. I like this one at one point. Now I'm kind of habituated into using it. The other thing, some more items that I think are important. So far I've said, I believe that we should have some kind of body of terminology that we all are familiar with, that we need to familiarize ourselves with different types of models and what they're good at. And then there's how do we think about this? And this is the diagram that sort of highlights systems thinking. Systems thinking requires causal loops, which means you have to sort of say, well, if I'm starting to go to work here at home, the next thing I have to do is I have to get in the car. When I do that, I have to make sure I have gas. And you begin to think of all the related circumstances to every action you take. That gives you a complete diagram of all the steps and all the consequences. It's not easy. It takes practice to develop skill in this area, but it's essential if you want to plan something. And when you're writing prompts, or if you want to get help out of an AI, the tendency is to sit down and say, give a report on pasteurized milk. That's great. But you get much better results if you actually take the time to think about, how do I want to use those results? Am I going to edit them? Do I want bullet points? Do I want 5 quotes? Do I want 4 pages? What style is it going to be written in? All these different things become part of your plan. So you start thinking in terms of all the tasks. You try to get all the tasks written out associated with each milestone. You begin to plan this thing and think strategically, and now you're ready to draw things out even. So all of these activities help you think through how to describe the problem, which is key to describing the problem to the AI. And that brings you to prompt engine. I particularly like this site. It's called learnprompting.org/docs. They've updated the site. This is the old website, but the content is still there. And this is where I started with prompt engineering. I got some practice and learned some of the techniques. And I started to use it. I came up with a format that I always use when I write a prompt. And I was delighted when I found a prompt engineering agent. Because when I gave it that, write me an essay about pasteurized milk, it gave me a prompt and it used the same framework I practiced using. I was so proud of this. It says, role, task, features, format, and I'm like, hey, that's perfect. So, but the thing this does is it will help you think through the details, like what details need to be part of that prompt. In the same way that if you ask an AI, I do an essay on pasteurized milk, it will give you a whole outline. This will do. So this can be used to generate a really thorough report, or a good answer, as I say. This is what they say is coming. Now, this is probably very unfamiliar to you. It was unfamiliar to me about 3 weeks ago. But this is a diagram that attempts to show different pieces of different AI engines that are strung together. And when you hit play, it will go through this map and choose out which pieces need to get done. Now, a demonstration I saw using a free tool called WebUse AI, and it's open source. You can download it, put it on your computer. You have to have a penchant for frustration, as Gordon mentioned. But if you manage to get one of these things set up, it can control your browser. So if you're a social media person, you make posts on X, you can tell it. Sitting at your computer, you can say, go to X, open up my account, and write a post on SEO. And it will. It'll open up Chrome, navigate to X. If your account is logged in, it will go to your account. It will analyze all the text on your page. It will try to figure out what would be a good SEO post to write in relation to all the other posts you write. I mean, that's just one thing it could do. It could do a whole lot more. Once you get an AI that can control your computer, whatever you're doing on your computer now that's repetitious, or you find boring, you could get an AI to do it for you. This national survey I did, the last time I did a national survey was 2013. I sent out 12,000 invitations to participate in the survey. It took me 6 months to get through that. I ran this national survey for 2 months because I had help scraping the web for email addresses. And then I asked an AI to write some code for me to take all of the HTML tags that I collected and with the regex statement, so it could pull out all the email addresses and put them in the data frames. It took me 3 days to collect about 6,000 email addresses, which is ridiculous, ridiculously fast, right? And so agents will be able to do some things for you. And there will be some people who have a lot of control, will have a lot of ability using those agents. And they might be sitting next to you, and you're still at the top of your shopping list. They've already been to the store, they come back and cook their meal. All right, so I mean, this is, I think it's a new reality. So I asked GPT-4 to make a mind map for me about what a lot of researchers are saying are very important skills for the future. And I call them networking skills, not human skills. Because I think I've always thought networking is the key, no matter what profession, no matter what your resume is. It's network. And they say that these skills are what are the new important skills that people should think about, and maybe they are. Mainly because I think personally that we really don't know where all this is going, so I think that myself included might have to be ready for changes. Maybe your job goes away, and you've got to come up with something else, so you need a side gig. And all that sort of uncertainty requires you to be resilient, to think critically about the situation. So the important considerations then is we're facing a time period where a lot of things are going to become automated. Some of us are not going to be able to do that, and we'll notice other people are getting their work done a lot faster than us. Yeah, one important thing that I've learned recently is the idea of human in the loop and AI presence, and those two things sort of I'm sort of trying to convince myself to keep those two things on the front of my mind whenever I think about the future of employment. Because there will be an AI present, and there should be a human in the loop. All right. It just makes sense to me that you would want to have an autonomous AI do everything for you. You might get an email from a friend of yours saying, like, something, why did you send me that crazy email? So human in the loop ensures that we can check the work, make sure that it's appropriate, and feel good about it. Any questions? Wow, that's good, right?
I mean, I came across Monica. I didn't use it, and I came across Poe, which is similar to Monica in some sense. Can you contrast? Have you used anything other than Monica, like Poe, P-O-E?
Yeah, it was you.
And you, yeah?
Yeah.
Can you contrast them quickly?
I used you up until probably the spring of last year. And they started, rather than building out, they sort of seem to be contracting, using less models or making fewer options. Whereas I just found Monica, and I was like, wow, look at all these different agents I can use now. And I just stayed with it ever since. So,
Good response time. These things are very important to me. I don't get a response within a second.
well, I think the nice thing is you get DeepSeek, you get Grok, you get access to Perplexity is on there. Yeah, Perplexity Reasoning is on there, Grok is on
Um, just curiosity, my blog is on. Let Bobby's talk. I was wondering, how do you think about
Oh, boy. Well, I'm a musician.
Can you
I'm
repeat the question? Repeat the question and have him speak in the microphone, please.
Okay. Yeah, so my question was essentially about if you're going to use a platform like Monica, that gives you access to a bunch of different models to do creative work. I was asking Jonathan sort of how he thinks about intellectual property and protecting the works he's doing and things like that. It's a not meant to be a leading question.
Right. So, I'm a trained musician, and so I'm conscious of other people's work, because I use other people's work all the time. So for me, I know that all computer systems log. I've asked all the agents whether they collect and then reuse content. So I'm aware of it. But to be honest with you, I don't think about it. I really don't. Go about my business. If I really was seriously worried about something, I would probably just go to Hugging Face and download a model and solve it. And just get the weights and yeah, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Questions?
What are the costs associated with your using Monica?
Monica, I got it on sale. I think I paid $120 for the first year. I think it might be a little bit more. It's $200 now. It's not bad. 16 a month. Yeah, wow, that's pretty good.
Well, please join me in thanking Jonathan for a spectacular presentation.